relaxed because I'm sure you've done like a million of these. So yeah, I guess to start off, the film is really this quintessentially Australian film in the sea of like American coming of age stories. So I guess why do you think it's important to not just have these American-centric coming of age stories?
I'll start. Well, I mean, I think it's important to have Australian stories, full stop. So, whatever the stories are, I think, that we have an amazing artistic community here and who want to express stories of their lives to other people that live here. So I think, we could just consume all American culture, and I think that would be really sad to be honest. I think, it's a battle to make a coming-of-age story for this audience in Australia, because you are actually competing with massive Hollywood studios and with an audience that's fairly influenced by massive media spend, as is really any audience. So, but it's still important to do it. And I mean, we come from a theatre background, and even in theatre people say, oh, teenagers don't really go to the theatre, and we say that's because there's not really stories that they really want to watch out in the theatre a lot of the time. So we believe that it's really important to be making that content, and it will, we just trust that it will find its audience. We've certainly found that with our theatre productions.
Yeah.
So, but it is, I think it is very important. Look, I mean, any culture has to, make its artefacts and make its expression. That's how it understands who it is, and it understands its identity and, its humanity. So I think, it is really important to have Australian content made by Australian artists. And there's awesome artists here. It's a small population, but, Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, jump in.
Well, I think it's really important to tell an Australian story.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, there's like a bit of a difference culturally in America and Australia, even though we're both Western societies. And, Australia, we've got like this really come on mate kind of vibe, going on. And it's nice as well for like a young girl to see an Australian young girl, not an American glammed up young girl acting. Because I think that's one of the things that makes the film so wonderful, is that it's, I'm not some blonde hair, I thought I said blue hair, blonde hair, blue-eyed girl who's like, the stereotypical beauty. I'm not like that, but I'm your average Joe.
You're still,
nice to
no,
see
you're pretty beautiful.
I say you're still gorgeous.
But, there's like that kind of element that's kind of nice for young girls to see, and to see, well, I'm like that too. I might not be, but because they can relate to that more.
Absolutely, yeah. I totally agree. So yeah, I guess, well, you were talking about how it's this Australianness and how, this coming-of-age heroine is quite different to ones in America. So do you think it's something about the Australianness that's really appealed to people and seeing the film really take off?
Well, the amazing thing is, we premiered the film in Adelaide, and we got picked up for Berlin, and out of that we got a sales agent, and they're based out of Paris, and they have been sending the film worldwide to festivals, where I think we've performed in 40-something festivals so far, and then we're being distributed across America, and there's a lot of excitement there about the film. I think they too like to have. I think it is distinctly Australian, but also it is a universal story. So I think that there's that side of it as well. It's like everyone has either been a teenager or is going to be one or is one. So everyone's kind of going through that, and I think and there's certain ideas that the film explores, like deep friendship, and that's it's quite. It doesn't shy away from that kind of separation and the darker side of that, and facing the things you have to face as a teenager. But inevitably, it's an uplifting film. And last night, when we were in Adelaide, Amanda Duthie was introducing the film, and she said she asked Marianne, who's the programmer of Generation 14 Plus, why they like the film so much, and they all said because it just makes you feel happy. And actually a lot of films don't do that, especially in the kind of independent cinema.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, in the film festival. So
I feel like in Australia there's especially like everyone sort of thinks that Australian independent films are, these dark, depressing.
Very gritty.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. Kitchen sink dramas.
Yeah. which are great too. But I mean, I think they say Australia had a golden age of making kind of quirky films.
Well, you find like in the 90s that was the big thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, like The Dressmaker was sort of reclaiming that.
Yeah, a little bit, I agree. A lot, that Dressmaker was. The kind of distinctly Australian kind of humour and,
Which I feel like doesn't always travel well overseas.
Yeah.
Like The Dressmaker didn't get really well received overseas.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
But this has been going so well. Was it really Berlin that took where it took off, you think?
Well, yeah, I think it is. I mean, it's such a major marketplace and launching platform for a film, Berlin. It's one of the big. I mean, I came from theatre. Bethany comes from film and television.
Yeah.
So this is. I've been learning the industry a lot this year, and that's one thing I've learned is that there's 4 big film festivals, which are Berlin, Sundance, Cannes, and Venice, and and they are, and then I've been to some of the other film festivals with the film as well, but you can't compare that those that really are an epicenter of, sales, of kind of development opportunity, of really experimental theatre cinema, of more alternatives, more regular cinema. So it's just got kind of the whole place is kind of overtaken, and they're quite epic, and so everyone goes there. So that was a lot of people saw the film there, and there was a lot of discussion and buzz about the film.
So you went to Berlin, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you both went? What was that like?
It was unbelievable. It was almost surreal. I keep thinking it was a dream. I look back at it and I was like, actually that really happened. I remember there was this one moment where I just completely stopped to take in my surroundings, because we were at the after party for the Gen 14 section, and all the films had finished, and we were in this underground abandoned subway in Berlin, and it was they had a pool that became a bar.
That's so cool.
And I was just standing there with all these kids that I've never met before, globally, just dancing from all these different films. Now it's geez, I'm 16, I really shouldn't be here. This is just too cool.
You've done so much though, you're only 16, so what's it been like, because you've been on TV and in the US, and you worked with Judy Davis when you were, what, 7?
7, 6, yeah.
What was that like?
I can't remember much.
You can't remember it? Of course.
I remember it being really fun, and it's kind of scary as a 6-year-old, but I was so oblivious. I was this little thing.
So when you were 6, you wouldn't have been oh my god, it's Judy Davis. You're just
no,
it's this person.
There's another lady on the set.
Yeah.
To give you an example of how completely nutty I was at that time. I was a bit always constantly on edge, or I'd go from one extreme to the next and just be tired and dead on the floor. And when they had them, because the booms, they have coffee stuff on the outside sometimes, I just sit there stroking.
That'd be so nice though.
Because I thought it was a raccoon.
That's very funny. It's very cute. Yeah.
So that kind of gives you an idea of how unprofessional I was at the age of 6. But that was my first ever thing I've ever done.
That's insane.
It was pretty, because I thought I was 8 with years of experience. I was 6. I'd never done anything before in my entire life. So they'd always sit there Bethany, come on, concentrate. What's going on?
You just want to play.
Yeah, basically. But it was fun, and I've learned a lot from that. And from there it's kind of, my knowledge of how to, hold myself together. And
do you still pat the boom pipes?
No.
It'd be very relaxing though.
Yeah.
So what's it like, coming back, and is this your first lead role? Yeah? Major lead role? Yeah, what's that like?
It was a bit scary at the time, really daunting, but really exciting. I was oh my gosh, yes, this is so cool. Because I've always said that this sort of role was my dream role, a dream. Ever since I saw Bottle Rocket, I just fell in love with Wes Anderson and that sort of style. I've always wanted to do a coming of age film like John Hughes. So this is my legit dream role. And I was so excited. And but I felt definitely there was a lot more responsibility this time, because Greta did she holds the film, and she's if I didn't get the journey right, the film would go in all sorts of directions. So I just really wanted to maintain my professionalism and really try to do Greta justice, and Rosemary and Matt justice as well.
Well, so I read that I was reading a couple of things that you really related to Greta, which I do too actually, because the film was really quite moving to me, because I feel like it got this emotion that I'd never really seen on screen before.
I agree.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know, it was just something about the tragedy of it or something like that, and how she's really...
hard to kind of articulate.
Exactly. And she, is happy, being a kid, and while everyone else around her doesn't want to be a kid anymore, they've just sort of thrown it off really easily. So yeah.
And I feel like that kind of, even though that was set in the 70s, but still very much so present.
Oh, absolutely.
In fact, I think it's almost more so present in today's society, because girls as young as 7 are starting to put makeup on now. And that's kind of scary to me. Like, I really just started wearing makeup. I'm 16. They're 6. Like,
oh no, I felt exactly the same.
It's crazy. Like, and girls are growing up so fast. And I've always cherished my childhood. I've always said to Mum that I'm not wearing any makeup. I'm not going to dress up. I'm going to keep playing with my toys. I literally played with them until I was probably 14.
Oh, me too.
Like, they were great. I loved getting lost in my own little world.
Yeah.
No one could disturb me. My mum would come in and I'd turn my whole room upside down. I had furniture here, a little miniature furniture.
That's so awesome. So yeah, I just, it's something that they really don't get. That this is, and it's quite a lonely feeling when you can't see that on screen. So thank you for bringing that to screen.
Oh, that's right. It was with me and a big group of us, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But it was amazing when we found Bethany for the role, because we, I've said that before. It's a bit like a cliche that we just knew immediately that she was the person to play the role. And we had quite an extensive search for the person, and but it's not an easy role, because it's a passive protagonist at the start of the storytelling, so she becomes active during the course. That is the story. So that is quite a challenge to kind of be able to hold that tension and to play that role without actually doing a lot in the early stages of the film. So that sounds simple, but it's actually one of the greatest acting challenges.
You have to do so much silent expressive.
So exactly, and then of course get active as the film goes along. So you have to do both.
That's right. And then maintaining that intensity.
Yeah.
We had the little system going.
Yeah.
I'd come up to Rose and she'd be like, I think it needs to be more intense. And I'd be like, all right, on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah. And it was hard too, because we shot some of the most full-on stuff early, didn't we? Mm. So some of the, we came in pretty, not the first couple of days, but the first day in the studio we were going, right. And for me in theatre, where you just, if you ever get lost making a theatre show, you can just go start at the start, see what we've got and see where we need to go. Yeah. But you can't do that with a film. It's all done in pieces. So it's like, we've got to really, as Bethany said, have this really well mapped out in terms of and this is actually quite a heightened moment that we're doing on day 3. Yeah.
And you have to be like, all right, okay, get in that headspace.
Yeah.
Was that one of the most challenging things? The fact that in film you're literally, you're doing it in pieces, and then in the editing room you're finding it and putting it all together?
Yeah, and in the pre-production and in the post-production because when you hit the shoot, you just have to be so well organised, especially our shoot. It was quick and it was ambitious, what we wanted to do in the time that we did it in 22 days. 22?
That was my next question. I was like, how long?
Yeah, so that was pretty all mapped down to the nines. It really relied on, Bethany and Harrison and the other actors to be really, ready to go, and we couldn't do a lot of takes of any scenes because we just had to keep moving forward. So that, but I found that a great pleasure actually. It's just like being, spending the time with Andy, Andrew Commerce, the DOP, working on, drawing storyboards of how we're going to realise the film. And that was important for me because I hadn't made a film before. It was an important part of the process to kind of, really have a very strong idea about how the story was going to be told. And because there are some major things to get your head around when you come from theatre for such a long time, and then you're suddenly telling a story in film. There are just different ways of thinking and different ways of conveying information. So that was good. And then the edit was also done in a real rush, but luckily we had Karen DeCinque, who was an awesome editor, and who really kind of, once we sort of found the rhythm of the edit, and I think that was a lot of that was contained in the scenes, because we used to theatre, so we used to kind of having to make the rhythm live. So I think they were both enjoyable parts of it, although always pressured by time, which kind of tipped it over the edge at times to make it a bit stressful.
Did you give Rose any tips about working on film, Bethany?
I don't think I did.
Once we sort of started, we had 3 days rehearsal, and then we were just bam into it.
All worked. It was all like a very much so collaborative environment. So we were all because it was the first time for a lot of us. Like, it was my first time in the lead in a feature
Yeah.
film. It was the first time for everyone at Sunshine. So we were all kind of bouncing off each other's energy, like, what are we doing next? How do we do this thing? It was great.
Yeah.
And then we had also Matthew Willett, who wrote the screenplay, and who, because the film was made first as a theatre production, so that's our background, is theatre, and then Matthew is also in the production. He plays Conrad, so he was around, and Jonathan Oxlade, who is our designer.
Yeah.
So, and he works on all of our theatre shows. He's from Queensland.
Oh.
So yeah.
Represent.
Yeah, exactly. He said to me, "Why didn't you get me to come over and do the Q&A in Brisbane?"
You could have been sitting right here.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's a seat vacant for him.
But he's very, very talented designer. So that, I think, and he loved collaborating with Andy too. And then he loved having a whole art team, because that's what you just don't have in theatre. That kind of those resources at your fingertips.
You had to do some really ingenious work, so resourceful. You guys would have had such a tight budget. So
yeah, we did. And then we had Amy Baker, another person in our art department, who was amazing at just finding things in op shops and kind of going, everything Greta Driscoll owns looks a bit old. I don't think anyone's going to pick up on it, because it's all, out of an op shop from 20, 30, how many years ago? 40 years ago, yeah. Long time.
Long time. Yeah. So, so yeah, I guess, talking about filming, one of the things I read was that you filmed the party scene in a night. Is that true?
Yes. Yeah.
So how much of the party scene are we talking here?
I think we filmed more than the party scene, didn't we?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean we filmed the entrance scene of all the teenagers?
It was my birthday recently. It was 21st, so I had a party, and all I could think about was that scene.
Great. Great. And then, all the big dance sequence, and then a lot of the shots of Bethany running through the party and
the Elliot and Greta.
The Elliot and Greta stuff. It was a big night, and we were racing against the sun, because we were
so
waiting
funny.
for the sun to come up. And in one of the shots there is a few birds tweeting. We had to get rid of them. It was like the sun was starting to rise and going, once the sun comes up, this is the end of it. We've lost the night. So
So how many scenes in one night?
There's a couple of nights that we did a lot of scenes.
We did a lot of night shoots.
Yeah, a lot of night
So all
shoots.
through, from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
And then you'd go home and just...
Then we'd sleep. Somewhat. Somewhat. And then we'd be ready to go the next morning.
Yeah.
Was it really energetic, the set?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And because I feel that comes off in the film. It's just this real energy to it.
I think it's because a lot of the love, everyone on set did it for the love and the creativity, because it was such a low budget film. And I think that's one of the things that makes independent films so remarkable, is that everyone's doing it for the creativity, for the love of what they're doing, and there's such a creative environment and such a collaborative environment, and especially since Rose, Matt, and Jonathan have all worked together before, and they've got this great little connection. And they've opened up this little world for us all to come and join, and we made a film.
And it was fun. We had lots of people. The party night was a bit like a party. So much Greta was in every shot. So Bethany was. So she wasn't. She was probably busy most of it, and so was I. But we had a house next door to the house where we were shooting the party scene, and that was all set up with the catering and just food to keep everyone going for the night. And
just get everyone on sugar.
Yeah, exactly.
And all the kids are having a little sleepover and they're watching
That's so cute.
Yeah, but they were having fun at the start because they're all getting dressed up in 70s clothes, and then as the night went on, it was like
falling off the edge.
We were trying to wrap them up.
Yeah. We almost didn't get the shot we needed at the end done because we were really running out of time.
But we got it.
We got it. Yeah. And Andy, our DOP, is just dogged. He's like, right. He's now producers going, Joe Dye, who has also come from the world of theatre and film, which is going, we're going to have to wrap it up, it's going too long, and he's just like, if we don't have this shot, we haven't got the end of the film. So we got there, didn't we? Yeah.
So you've talked a lot about, people moving between film and theatre. So I guess, do you think that relationship between film and theatre is something that often gets ignored? Because I feel like it's something that really brought Windmill in this film a lot of attention. This real fusion of influences. It's very much at play here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we were so fortunate because Matt and myself got to work to be part of an initiative called The Hive, which was through this Screen Australia, Australian Council for the Arts, Adelaide Film Festival, and ABC Arts. So it brought artists from different disciplines to a workshop, and just to say, think about film, think about telling stories on film, think about how you would do it. And I think it was driven really by Katrina Cedric, who runs Acme, and Amanda Duffy, and they were really about, well, this crossover does happen a bit more overseas. Why doesn't it happen here? And it's and then with that there was the opportunity to pitch for some money to make work. So we were in the second round of that, and there's been some amazing projects come out of it. Bangara Dance Film Spear, which is amazing, and The Tender, another amazing documentary, and there's one more round of films to come, and TV projects. So there's been a diversity of projects coming out of it. But I think, you know, it's been just really exciting work, and it's all been fairly low budget work, and but just different, because I think it is about that cross fertilisation, and part of the joy for the project was that we got to work with artists from film, and they had come and seen the play, and because we're looking around for who we're going to collaborate with, because we knew that if we didn't get the right people on board, it would kill it really. If people didn't believe in it, and it was a bit lateral what we were doing, if they kind of couldn't see the vision, then, but we were very lucky to find Andy and Kaz, and they loved what we brought to the table in terms of, you know, our theatrical minds, because I think we are used to being quite inventive in how we solve problems, and we have a very specific language in our work, and so there was a lot of love, basically. Yeah.
Are you guys sick of the Wes Anderson name drops and everything?
Look, the way I feel about Wes Anderson, it was pretty damn hard to get sick of that, you know. But you know, there's something I said for me, and you know, I mean, even as theatre makers, the cinema is still the main artistic medium of the time that we live in. So a lot of, even when we're making our plays, a lot of our references are theatrical, but a lot of them are about cinema, and they are Wes Anderson. He often does a play within his films. Gondry solves things very organically. You know, you kind of Spike Jones. We talk about all these, David Lynch, they're all very theatrical. So we talk about all these influences all the time. So to have them kind of thrown back at us is quite amazing. And whenever I hold Wes Anderson incredibly high, and I wouldn't dare compare our film really to a Wes Anderson film. But you know, one thing that I love about Wes Anderson is as much as the stories that he's telling and the friendships, I think, which are quite offbeat, and I always love that. There's also a part of the experience for me that an artist believes that a vision. I love Greek shortbread.
Who doesn't?
It looks amazing. Do you like them? What the hell is going on?
Come on. Oh, thank God.
I had to speak a bit firmly.
Okay, so I feel like we lost our train of thought, but
I think we're talking about Wes Anderson.
We're talking about Wes Anderson. So
I was just going to say one final thing about Wes Anderson. There's something just awesome about Wes Anderson that is, apart from the stories that he tells and the beautiful aesthetics and everything, it's just this, and the way that you go on the ride with those stories, but there's also something amazing about those films that you just feel so euphoric because a vision of the world exists like that, you know, that's so amazing, and it makes you feel happy when you see that, and it makes you feel positive about being alive. So I think our film is very different, but I think it is uplifting in its own way too, and that's you know, something that's important for us to be putting out there, you know.
It tells the story in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. So to go back to what we were saying before, obviously you never could have anticipated the great reception that you've had overseas, but so what's been like the best or most interesting or most unexpected part of, you know, experiencing the film around the world in different places?
I think it was really exciting just to see how other countries engage with it, and I think in Berlin it was, you know, they screen the film in English there, and they do at the Berlinale screen everything that's for audiences apart from the little kids in English, and then they subtitle any foreign films into English, but still English is most people's second language over there, even though they speak it really well. So I think it was seeing the way the visual language kind of came alive, because you're very influenced by the you know, the audience that you're watching the film with, so they were just picking up on different things and enjoying different things, so that was pretty amazing, I think. But you know, just funny things like we had you know, journalists from Japan who thought that we'd put the father in really short shorts to make some sort of political statement. That is what men used to wear in the 70s in Australia. They could not believe that. So that's all was quite funny, but Yeah, I don't know. Just the way, I mean, Matt, the writer, went over to Giffoni, which is this amazing...
Italy.
Yeah,
I would love to go there one day.
Yeah, and it was all young people. That
Yeah.
were 800 people were voting on films and watching them. So
They're all, and most of them are kids.
Yeah. So that was that. He said that was pretty wild, that experience. Yeah. I went to Argentina. That was quite incredible, and obviously New York. That was quite amazing.
Yeah. Anything you'd like to?
It's just so bizarre. Like you'll wake up one morning and you'll go and check your phone, and it's like, oh, it's in another country today. Like, oh, like,
we don't even know half the time where it's on. We go, oh wow, it's been on in Moscow, Korea. It's like, oh wow, it's like
You're developing like a real fan base.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah.
It's quite bizarre.
And it's just opening in France this week as well too. So
At the cinema?
at a film festival before cinemas. So
Okay.
that's kind of the launch of it. So and then it's going into cinemas in about a week and a half, beginning in America.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was so happy when it got picked up in the US. I was like, yes.
I know, and apparently it's quite rare for Australian films to get picked up in.
It's so rare.
Yeah, so I know we didn't realise that. So I didn't anyway. So it was quite.
You're like, what do you mean no one gets picked up in America?
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, and we really love the people that have picked it up too. They're really great, and they're so passionate about the film, and
cool.
yeah, very cool.
I'm really hoping it takes off though.
I hope so. I feel the trailer's certainly going off. So if there's any sign.
It was great. I actually know one of the people that's quoted in the trailer, and when it came, in the US one, when it came out, I was like, look, you're in it.
Yeah, great.
Sent it to her. She was like, oh my god. Yeah. So what's next for both of you? I guess because I think we should probably start wrapping up to let you guys go socialize.
You go first.
Sorry, what was the question?
What's next? What do you?
next?
Yeah.
The Family Law, season 2.
And you're back here for that?
I'm back here in Brisbane
That's awesome.
in October, I think.
So
that's
wait,
exciting.
do you film in Brisbane itself or like Sunshine Coast or don't know?
I think it's
Yeah, because you come down to New Farm to shop, so it
yeah,
must be around here.
It's,
Yeah.
it's in somewhere. Oh, maybe it's Sunshine. Maybe.
Sunshine Coast's like 2 hours from here, though.
Yeah.
I think it's Brisbane.
Yeah.
Brisbane? Awesome.
Yeah.
It's sunny. We know that much. Yeah,
It's sunny.
Yeah. And I'm working on a new theatre show, so the timing of the film launch has been quite crazy for me. But so I'm back in Adelaide with Windmill, the theatre company that I work for, that made Girls Sleep to start with, and then with the State Theatre of South Australia. So and then we're actually after that going on to do the stage play of Girls Sleep at Belvoir Theatre in Sydney.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
So is that the first time it's travelled?
Yes, first time it's travelled. We've been so busy ever since we made it the first time, so we haven't toured it yet. So that'll be quite weird, actually. I think having lived so much with the film in the meantime, to come back to the play will be quite strange.
It'll be interesting to see people who have seen the film before they saw the play, rather than the other way around. I imagine.
Yeah, I think it will. It's kind of the same, but really different
Yeah.
at the same time. So it's
Yeah, two different mediums.
yeah.
So do you want to do theatre now, Bethany, after doing this, or?
I've done a little bit of theatre
Don't-
before.
yeah.
In my younger years. I'd love to do theatre. I love theatre so much. I love, it'd be nice to do some theatre.
Yeah, different ways to tell stories. And stuff
Yeah,
like
they're
that.
different. Yeah, I like in school I'm studying media and studying the different ways behind the camera. So I'd like to maybe one day do write scripts and direct or something like that, and I'll perform. So,
That sounds good.
We'll see how it goes. Can't predict anything.
Well, yeah, I think that's about it. If you guys
Excellent.
have,